Welcome to our program on Kardec Radio.
Good evening, my friends. This is Angy Stewart from Mia Inner Light, and we are here live on Kardec Radio. Another Thursday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Let me open for comments. So if we have friends arriving, please say hello, write a question, write a comment. That's the only way I can acknowledge that you are here. Thank you so much to all of you. And it's always a blessing to be able to come back and to continue our very, very simple study. This is our book, What is Spiritism? It's a great book that Kardec wrote. A lot of people don't really know that Kardec wrote a few other books besides the codification. So everybody knows about the Pentateuch, the 5 main books of the coordination, but this is one of the great books that he wrote. And he also wrote a few others that are excellent. For example, the rules and regulations that a spiritist center should follow. So this book, Kardec actually gives us guidelines to help us to open and to maintain in good order a spiritist center. This is really, really good. So hello, Matthew. How are you? Nice to see you here. Hello, Claudia. Very nice to see you here. It's great to be here with you guys. This study is very short. It's only around 20 minutes because at 9 p.m. we have another study, the God at Home. So we have to jump in quickly so we can enjoy and use the best way of our time. So the title we are studying is The Opposition of Science. So I always talk about that, but it's good because maybe we have someone that's going to be listening to this talk later on Kardec Radio, or we'll see in YouTube or Facebook, and we're like, what is Spiritism? I don't know this book. So it's important for us to understand that this book is a small book that Kardec wrote in order to be able to really do a summary of all the questions that the people used to ask him, and also the types of people that ask him. So he divided in 3 categories of people. He divided in the ones that absolutely did not understood and they were against Spiritism. So they made certain statements and they asked specific questions because they were already against it. So they already had their ideas in their minds. Then we have the people that were like, they really didn't know Spiritism. They're like, oh, what is that? I have no idea what is that. But they genuinely asked the questions to understand it. And there were also the people that already knew Spiritism and they were positive about it. But Kardec also wanted to instruct this last group because he always said one thing is you know something and another thing you believe something. So believe is almost like something from my heart, like I believe in that. You never saw it, you never understood it, but you believe it. But I understood is like I know it, I studied it, I have researched about it, and I can talk about it. And that's what Kardec wanted. Kardec wanted even the ones who consider themselves already spiritists, they needed to know how to have a positive dialogue with people that were going to ask them questions. So this book is really, really good to help the ones that don't know anything about Spiritism, or the ones who already know a lot, but they want to have like a strength in their understanding. So we are studying the opposition of science, and we read the first visitor. It's divided in many visitors that asked many different questions. It's like a dialogue with Kardec. So we read this one, and today we are going to go to this one. This is the second visitor. So I will read the visitor's question and the explanation of Kardec. I highlighted so it will be faster for us, the main points, but you guys can read the whole thing if you find it better. So the visitor asks Kardec, they are not infallible. So he actually means like the spiritists. He's trying to understand. No, I'm sorry. He's referring to science because the previous visitor was telling Kardec that he needed to have help of a scientist to make his approach like more acceptable. So here the second visitor is saying the science, they are not infallible in virtue of their knowledge. Their opinion is worth something. You are, and then Kardec goes, you are only a good judge with your area of competence. If you want to build a house, would you employ a musician? I'm just like thinking, I think we read that. I think we did. So probably you guys were not here. It's new for you, but I think I did study that one. Let me just I highlighted it as a, oh yeah, Newton and Galvani. Yes, we did study that. So we need to go to the next one that I didn't highlight because I thought we were studying the other one. But no problem. So let's do it together. They usually are not really long, they are small. So the visitor says, very well, we are talking about a learned individual who reasons with wisdom and prudence. And although I'm not a learned individual myself, I agree with him. Notice, however, that he affirms nothing, he doubts. Thus, what exactly are we to base in belief if the existence of spirits, especially the possibility of communicating with them? So let me see which page is this. As you guys see, I read here, I read there, I read everywhere. Page 79. Oh, okay. I put it here. So basically, this visitor here, he is mentioning, okay, we need to understand. Let me go back for you guys to see. It's here. So he's basically saying that they are taking. Let me highlight. So we are talking about learning individuals with reason and prudence. And then he's saying these individuals, he or she or they have doubts. So they have doubts about what they are reading. And then based in the belief of the existence of spirits, what especially the existence of spirits and especially the possibility of communicating with them. And then Kardec, he actually, I'm looking at my book and highlighting it. So Kardec says, this belief is based on both reasoning and facts. So if you don't know or if you weren't with us in the past, we already studied the bio of Kardec, and we learned that he was a scholar, he was a researcher, and he was not a believer. He actually he took a long time to fully accept this idea of the table turning to finally start taking a look at it to see if he would pursue this study or not. So Kardec was not a believer. He was an intellectual and a very serious man. So he never got involved with something that people thought was funny or it was like a joke. So he was invited many times to participate of the table turning movement, but he always thought this was some kind of a prank and he didn't want to participate. So when he finally did, he wanted to research to understand how come a table can give intelligent answers if this does not have any type of a brain to answer it. So that's just for you to have an understanding that Kardec was not a believer. So he says here, let me put back for you. So this belief is based on both reasoning and facts. That's how he was. And then he continues, I myself did not adopt it until after careful examination. My study of the exact sciences gave me the habit of a positive thinking, which requires thought and analysis. So that's how he was always. He was a thinker. So he was always like thinking, researching, trying to understand, and trying to debunk. We have like lots of people that nowadays try to debunk science or try to debunk certain things. Kardec was like that, and not just him, but many scholars from the beginning. They also they were actually oppositors to Spiritism. They started studying Spiritism because they wanted to prove it was wrong or it was a lie. But in the end, they proved to themselves that that was actually a reasoning, was something that much bigger than what they expected, and they couldn't find ways to say it was really fraud. So that's how Kardec basically did. So, and then we continue, and I probed and scrutinized the new science in its innermost details. I wanted to account for everything because I do not accept an idea before I know the whys and hows. This is Kardec. He never accepted something just because people said, yeah, this is good. No, he had to research to be able to understand it. Here's the reasoning I got from an erudite physician who used to be a disbeliever, but who is now a fervent adherent. So here, this is all important. It is said that invisible beings communicate, and why not? Before the invention of the microscope, did we suspect the existence of billions of microscopic organisms that cause such a harm in the body? This is something that's true. And also this one here. Beings in space that escape to our senses. Yeah, so the microscope was instrumental to help us to discover the miniature things, and the telescope of the gigantic telescopes, they were instrumental to help us to understand the space, because it's not just what we see with our eyes. Actually, what we see with our eyes is very small compared to what are there in space. So God that so he says that the God that he has nothing more to teach us. So basically it's like, do you really think there is nothing else to be discovered? If not long ago we discovered the microscope, we created, the man created the microscope and the telescope and discovered amazing things. So do you think there is nothing else for us to create in order to understand the God? For example, we are super far away from understanding God, but we can understand little by little of God's creations. And when we did the microscope and the telescope, it was a way that we could understand a little bit more about that. So here, so he continues, why couldn't they communicate with us? And he's talking about the spirits. Why do you think the spirits cannot communicate with us? Right now, yes, right now we can't, with the exception of a medium, of a powerful medium to help us in mediumistic meetings. But in the future, maybe there will be other ways. So he continues. If they are in any way related to human beings, they must perform a role in destiny of life events. Who knows? Maybe it is one of the forces of nature, one of those hidden forces that we never even suspected. What a new horizon this would open upon our thought. What a vast field of observation. That is the discovery of the world of invisible beings be much different than the world of infinite small. It would be a new discovery, and it is totally true. Can you imagine when the microscope was invented and they discovered all that life in a little tiny cell, that you could look and you could see millions of things moving and acting together? It's just like, oh, yes, it was like this. So imagine in the future, we don't know when, but imagine in the future when a machine will be created for us to talk to spirits. Why not? Are you laughing? No, don't laugh. Don't laugh. Let me tell you a story. Many, many, many years ago, I was a young adult living in Brazil, and there was a soap opera. And in this soap opera, a woman, through a computer, she was able to meet another person in a computer in another country. I remember that in that time, I was still trying to learn DOS, and the Windows had just started in Brazil, and the very few people had Windows because was new, was expensive. Most of the people had DOS. And I remember I start laughing. I start laughing when I saw that soap opera, that the woman, she was in front of a computer talking to a person, seeing each other. I was like, ha, that's impossible. It's never gonna happen. Really? Never gonna happen. Look at me right now. Look at me right now. I'm here talking to you. Yes, I don't see you in the camera because this is not the type of a tool that we can use. But nowadays we have these tools. We have Zoom, you have Skype, you have the iPhone that have a special app for this. You have so many. WhatsApp. There are so many availabilities. So one thing that I have to tell you is never say never, because things are constantly changing, and we imagine something is not going to happen and it's totally possible. So it's totally possible that we will have some kind of electronic machine to talk to spirits. So then he continues, it would be a revolution in our way of thinking. How much light could be shed? How many mysteries explained? Those who believe in it are ridiculed. But what does that prove? Hasn't it been the same with all great discoveries? Wasn't Christopher Columbus rebuffed, met with disgust, and treated as insane? These ideas, it is said, are so strange. So imagine, are so strange that no one can believe. But anyone who would have said only a century ago that he would be able to correspond from one part of the world in only a few minutes, that we could cross France in just few hours, that with the steam produced by little boiling water, a ship could go forward against the wind, that we could derive from water the means of providing ourselves with light and warmth, that it would be possible to illuminate all Paris in an instant with only a reservoir of invisible substance. Surely such a person would have been laughed at. So this is amazing. So in this moment here, Kardec is just enumerating lots of discoveries that really changed the life of millions of people. So this is really amazing. And it brings to us, imagine, this was in the 50 something when he wrote this book, but we are in 2021 and we really have so many discoveries. So many discoveries. The fact that I'm here talking to you and I'm in my house and you are in your house, in any place in this planet, this is amazing. If we had said this to Kardec in the 1800s, I don't think they would even think it's possible. Kardec, because he was a free thinker and he really believed in the future, I think he would say, yes, it's totally possible. But the majority of the people would be like, you are crazy. Exactly like me when I watched the soap opera. I don't blame them. I did the same. Thank God we improved. So let's go. Let me see how much I still have a little bit. So let's go. Such are the thoughts of a learned individual, but an unpretentious one. They are also the thoughts of a huge number of enlightened persons who have understood, not superficially and narrowly, but who are having examined the matter seriously and without preconceptions, have had the modesty not to say, I do not understand, therefore it does not exist. So this you have to think. You don't understand something, it doesn't happen yet, but it doesn't mean it's a lie or it's a fraud or it is impossible. So their convictions were formed by observation, reasoning. If these ideas were passing fancy, do you think that such an intellectual elite would have adopted them? That they would have been victims of an illusion for so long? Hence, it is not materially impossible for there to be beings invisible to us, populating space, and this consideration alone should be led to more circumspection. A short time ago, who would have thought that a drop of clear water could contain thousands of beings so small that would boggle our minds? That's true. It would say that it was much harder for our minds to conceive such a subtle beings having all our organs and functioning like us than to believe in the beings that we call spirits. Wow! That was a good ending of a conversation, because this is totally true. A lot of people are so quick and so fast to say no, 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 or just to judge quickly. Think about how many people you talk about something and they are quick to judge you and say, no, I don't think so, or they don't even really think, they don't research, they snap. And especially nowadays with the modernity of internet, people are always super quick to judge, super quick to attack, really. If you go to public chat rooms, if you go to Facebook, if you go to, for example, Nextdoor, there are so many apps that the people have conversations. Twitter, oh my goodness. Instead of people having conversations, they have attacks. It's almost like everybody nowadays is a catedrátic of something. Suddenly, every single human being are specialized in every subject, and they are quick to attack somebody else that has a different opinion. So this is very, very sad. I really hope that we will come back to a more harmonic way, trying at least to respect the people that have different opinions than us. My friends, I have only 3 minutes to start my other study. I hope to see you there in 3 minutes. Very good to have you here. Very good to see all of you. So I didn't even read the comments here. So Matthew just said that's That's what I'm mainly waiting to talk to you about. Oh, you want to talk about the scientific man? Yes, we have to understand that the science nowadays is much more improved, but science, as I think I told you, science will always have that need to have a material explanation, because most of the scientists, I'm not talking about 100%, but most of the scientists, they still have that idea that 2 plus 2 is 4. And we know in spiritism, we can't provide this. We can't take a medium, bring to a place, and to expect that that medium will be tested 100 times, having 100 times the same answer, because it's not how it's going to be. Spiritism is not exact science. My friends, I have 2 minutes now. I see you soon. Thank you so much.